Today's Dungeon Brawlers podcast is Triple A Gaming.
Welcome to another edition of the Dungeon Brawlers podcast. I am your host, Frank, here again with my co-hosts, Ian.
Always lovelier on the radio.
And Patrick.
Good evening.
And as you heard in the intro, as opposed to last week's episode of Indie Gaming, we're taking the opposite side of the spectrum with the AAA titles, which, honestly, I think we're all kind of in agreement. They have their upsides, but I'm not really as into it now as I was probably at a younger age.
Yeah, I feel like my foray into AAA probably started. I had the original Xbox. I remember playing Halo 2 online a lot, and that continued a little bit. I got the Xbox 360. I remember playing Modern Warfare like there was no tomorrow. But honestly, I've definitely fallen out of it a little bit in more recent years. I actually remember when Black Ops 2 came out, I actually went into GameStop. I heard they had done some things to the game that I wanted to try out. They had made some major changes, but at the same time...
Real-time weapon switching.
Yes, exactly. But I actually remember telling the clerk at GameStop, like, I don't know why I'm doing this, man. I'm feeding the beast. I gotta stop.
I'm feeding the beast.
Like I'm addicted, like drugs. Like a junkie. A COD junkie. Call me Jeff Tate.
You know, when I look at games like that, you know, for me with Black Ops, I didn't care. Well, the first game I actually enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was actually a pretty interesting story, just like I enjoyed the story of the original Modern Warfare. The original Modern Warfare had a pretty complex story that was
Call of
really
Duty 4 Modern Warfare is just a really good game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the thing that really sold me on Call of Duty Black Ops, which it didn't really have a purpose, but I still enjoyed it, was the Zombies mode.
The Zombies mode is always cool.
I mean, they added more of like a story element to the game, or to the Zombies mode, as they got further into the game, which made it a little bit more interesting, and I like the co-op nature of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really made me enjoy that. But other than that, like, it's gotten to the point to where Black Ops 2 I didn't purchase, and Kevin Spacey edition I'm not buying. I'm done with Call of Duty. I can't find interest in doing the... Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and that's what I feel like. It's just repeating the same things over and over again.
I feel like probably the plunge happened around Modern Warfare 2, because I do remember playing Modern Warfare 2 as well. They definitely tried to do like a bigger and better. I remember being able to customize kill streaks in the multiplayer, and it just turned into, pardon the French, a complete and utter clusterfuck. It was absolutely insane. And on top of that too, the campaign, as decent as the portions were with the whole spectacle of, like, you know, somebody invading the United States, it started turning into...
Cubans.
Yes.
In Colorado.
That was Invasion USA with Chuck Norris.
Yes.
But,
not to be confused with Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if they're the same movie.
But they started turning Call of Duty plots into like a Michael Bay style spectacle.
Yeah. Well, it felt almost like boardroom designed, where like what worked in the first game, and they took the invading and
what will print
the
money.
bigger is better. Another thing they kind of ripped off was the spoiler alert, the your character dies thing.
Yeah.
Where like in the first game you had two characters, and you thought like, oh, this is going to be a 2-character story the whole way through. I wonder when they'll meet up. And the American character, you know, they're trying to escape. They hear there's going to be nuclear weapons, and it's like, oh, you got to wait. Nope, it detonates, and you just like you play your character as he dies.
As he dies of radiation poisoning. Yeah, that was definitely absolutely ridiculous. And I think too, they kind of tried to build that kind of, I guess, I want to say controversy, like right off the bat. Do you remember No Russian from Modern Warfare 2?
Yes. That's the airplane thing, right?
Yeah. When you're going through the airport in Russia. Spoiler alert, once again, these games are like 9 or 10 years old at this point.
I don't think we need to worry too much about spoilers.
Well, man, I like Call of Duty 4 enough.
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
To not want to spoil it.
Yeah, it's something willing to go back to. Modern Warfare 2, on the other hand, absolutely not. Yeah, it was that first level. You're playing as the CIA operative who's underground in like a Russian terrorist cell. And the whole no Russian thing was from the fact that they wanted to portray themselves as Americans massacring this airport in Moscow.
Yeah.
But you basically go through an airport and gun down civilians.
And you're forced to like walk through the whole thing, and it's really ominous.
There's the option to not, but at the same time, like apparently the guys would shoot you if you didn't at least fire off your gun or something. It just it felt like, as opposed to the plot point in Call of Duty 4, which was a genuine shock. And it was definitely like a major turning point for the narrative of the game. The bit in Modern Warfare 2 just felt like they were trying to drum up controversy right off the bat.
Well, they didn't just rip off like a controversial scene. I think that it was like 2 or 3 times in Modern Warfare 2 your character dies.
Yeah.
Like in the same way, like he's shot and he's dragged out, and I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
it felt just like too direct of a copy of what they did in the last game.
The end, too, was a complete rip-off
of
the end of Modern Warfare. And it's like,
really? Is there no other way they can end these games?
Nope. Yeah. No.
There isn't.
Slow-mo, quick time events.
Slow-mo, quick time, punch each other in the face at the same time, end of Alien vs. Predator 2 style.
What about punch each other at the same time turns into a painting Rocky 3 style?
Yeah.
No, there we go.
We can do that.
Freeze frame.
That's always got to be like. Woof.
What's weird to me is when you look at like Call of Duty and you look at Activision and stuff like that. Activision used to do so much more, and it seems as though they've literally just walked away from everything else now, and it's just their only focus really is Call of Duty at this point.
Well, we're at the point now where they're basically farming out developers. It's 3 teams now working on a 3-year cycle. You've got Infinity Ward, you've got Treyarch, and now it's Sledgehammer, right?
I believe so.
I think Advanced Warfare is Sledgehammer and Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey edition.
Yep.
But another, I know we're probably going to drum up a lot of controversy on this one, but to me, another one of what I would consider to be AAA titles is Bethesda and the games that they make. And I'll be honest, I love their games.
I'm gonna have a real controversial opinion on this one.
But I think me and Pat are kind of in agreement here that the games almost feel incomplete.
Yeah, they're often like bug ridden. I mean, it's what's the common thing people say? You want to play it on the PC because if there's a problem, you can fix it in the console.
Exactly.
Which, you can type in like directions for regenerate this character or reset these quest flags.
Yeah.
But number one, it kind of undresses the reality of the game. Number two, why would you want to play a game that you have to cheat to fix? Like, they didn't finish the game themselves. But I would characterize the Gamebryo games, the Fallout games they've made, and the Elder Scrolls games as doing many things okay, but doing no one thing well.
It's a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah. And I think that's why they appeal so well to people, is because it has so much versatility in the games. They're a lot of fun. I'm not taking anything away from.
Oh yeah, it's neat to see the big world they made. Definitely.
You know, I can honestly say the day Skyrim came out, I was like, I got it. I had it set up for the midnight download on Steam, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to play. Downloads, and I'm like, I'm only going to play it for a little while. You know, I don't want to spend too much time. And then I look at the clock, and it's 10 a.m., and I'm like, where the fuck did the time go? Like, you can suck so much time into these games, but like you said, there's a lot of like little flaws that really make you wonder, should it have been released at this time? Or
well, I think that you can divide the game into a few categories where they make it presentable, but it's not ideal. And the first place would be combat, and I think that's the thing everybody realizes first, is that eventually the combat is very samey. No enemy requires a very special strategy except dragons, where you wait until they fight you again.
Yeah.
But, you know, with Fallout, you know, it's either you use the VATS or you run backwards and shoot. Like, that's all you do is run away from enemies and shoot them and hope they can't catch you.
That's the one thing I really want to see in a newer Fallout, is I want to see Bethesda possibly take on or absorb like some level of people who actually have experience making compelling FPS gameplay.
Right.
Because honestly, the Fallout games, Fallout 3 in New Vegas, we're talking about on the Gamebryo engine, the shooting without using VATS, without using basically just a stat-based system where you're picking and choosing parts of a body and rolling a dice for percentage to hit. The shooting feels like one of the clunkiest parts of the game easily. But
at the same time, the VATS almost feels like a feature somebody modded in. Like the way it just totally takes you out of the combat. It feels like it doesn't fit in the flow of the game.
Yeah.
First you press enter. Then you press V until it doesn't let you press V
You click on their head a bunch of times.
Then you kill everybody.
but you know, so the combat, you know, I guess it's a little samey, but that's okay because it's more trying to immerse you in this world.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe we can overlook that, except it tries to tell a story, and sometimes I feel like the storytelling doesn't benefit from how disjointed it is. Like, it should be a big world where you don't have to do everything and all that. But everything feels very like encapsulated in separate areas.
Yeah.
That's something that New Vegas improved on.
Yeah,
like considerably over Fallout 3. All praise Obsidian, but
all praise Chris Avallone. No, but well, I'll have plenty to say about Chris Avallone. I don't want to use it up right now, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's got things brewing, people.
Oh yeah. But then one of the big things, I guess, for storytelling is supposed to be voice acting, and that's the thing. I don't think this kind of game is really. It's not ideal for text-based story, and it's not ideal for the voice acting. And the text-based is by design. Like, you're getting when you stop to talk to somebody, like, it zooms in on their face all creepy style, and like you get one line of dialogue at a time, and you can't scroll back through it. So it's kind of trying to be like a book, but you can't like scan through everything and get the whole context. It's given to you bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
And the voice acting suffers because usually they hire a big name actor like Patrick Stewart or whatever, and they blow the whole budget on that. They blow the whole budget on one guy who's going to be there for one scene, and then the whole rest of the game is voiced by two people.
What was the Fallout 3 complaint? We've got 4 voices: man, woman, child, and Liam Neeson.
Yeah. But like everybody says the same things in every town, and like half the guys all sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna go there with the Skyrim joke. And if any of you say it, I'm probably gonna have to kill you.
but you know, it's funny because every guard has the same voice. They all have the slightly higher pitched male voice.
Yeah.
Or the female voice.
Or the female voice.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just really breaks immersion for me when I have the same voice actor as like half of the main characters. And by that, it's like they might have voice actors on there that do different voices, but half the characters have the same voice with the same accent.
Yeah,
and it just kills me.
I understand the fact that, you know, you're not in a game that large, you're not going to get every single person to have a different voice because the amount you would pay in voice acting would be staggering.
It would be astronomical.
But to at least, you know, give more variation than what they give would be, you know, a huge improvement.
Well, you would think that they would have like bigger names on the voice acting list, but they're not huge names aside from, you know, like the Patrick Stewart or Liam Neeson they hired.
Yeah.
So like, why can't they get a whole bunch of voice actors, like not even name brand ones, but like just a whole bunch of people to have it varied?
Yeah. I mean,
that's actually one thing. I'm sorry to go off on the tangent again, but no, have you guys seen they're trying to rebuild Morrowind in the Skyrim engine?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I did see that.
I didn't.
What?
Well, the one DLC was Morrowind, right?
Yeah, you went back to Morrowind, but this is specifically they're trying to rebuild.
Is this the one where you have to have both games installed, so it directly draws the assets of Morrowind?
Yeah, but they're actually rebuilding a lot of the game from the ground up as well. And actually, one of the things that they put out for at one stage of this mod's development was actually an open call for voice actors. They wanted like basically anyone. I don't know whether that's still a thing that they're doing or whether it's an option. But yeah, they actually wanted to try to build a lot of variants into the voice acting, which I thought was awesome.
Can I do voices like they had in Daggerfall? Can I just be like one of the guards and just be like, halt, halt.
Achtung. Mein Leben.
No, but yeah, I think they're neat games, and like they build a big convincing world, but the details don't match the overall picture.
Yeah, you immerse me in the world, but the world itself is not immersive enough. The world is beautiful, and you know the landscapes are great and everything, but you're losing a lot in the fact of
not entirely organic and believable.
Yeah.
Each aspect of the game, I think gameplay and storytelling, they feel good enough if the other half of the game carried them. And that's the thing, like, it doesn't have one aspect of the game that really carries the whole thing.
Yeah.
The writing is good, but the presentation doesn't really match it.
Yeah.
And like some people do feel like the newer games don't have the same detail in writing. And I mean, I kind of agree, but at the same time, like, especially Skyrim, like it does have really interesting, deep characters that you have to explore the world to find out about, like Ulfric Stormcloak.
Yeah.
You know, that's almost kind of a Vivek detail character, but
yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I feel like what they try to do is they try not to focus so much on the combat and more on, you know, little tasks that you could do, like the Thieves Guild. That's something that's something that not a lot of games have that they do very well. That's one of the things that I will say they do pretty well is, you know, in terms, well, I don't know if you saw this picture recently. It was actually kind of funny to me. It was a picture online where they were talking about, you know, logic of characters in Skyrim. And one of the characters was like, I can't talk anymore. I've got important things to do. And a minute later, he lays down in bed and goes to sleep.
yeah.
Let me ask you something else. I have to go now.
I mean...
But even those, like, they do put together a whole bunch of neat little
little
lines
things
separate, but even them, like, the details don't feel good. So I would like to see them.
You're telling me putting baskets on people's heads and stealing stuff was not the greatest feeling on Earth?
Did they fix that?
I think they did eventually.
Oh, man.
I think they did eventually, but I made it a purpose of just... That was all I wanted to do was put... Even the guy that was blind, I'm putting a basket on his head.
You're a prick.
I'm not gonna do... Well, if I didn't, I'd be discriminating. What? I'm not supposed to put it on his head because he's blind? No, I'm gonna give him the same treatment
as everybody else before you rob him,
yes.
Dare I say, completely?
Yes. I think the joke in that house too is pretty funny when you look at his book and the book's empty.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a blank book.
There's no Braille in Cyrodiil?
That's the thing. Those games really sell for me on the details, like the little jokes you find in a book.
Yeah. And the books are actually really interesting. If you sit down and read the books are always...
Well, the whole meta-narrative of the series
books
is neat. Like, the dwarves just disappeared, but, like, there's the whole thing they talk about how, like, time doesn't match up throughout history. Like, different accounts give, like, different time spans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for instance, there's a book written about how Cyrodiil was a jungle, and then, for some reason, in Oblivion, you see it's, like, a very European-looking continent. And there's a book that says that one of the emperors who became Talos, I think it was.
Okay.
Tiber Septim. Yeah, he just deleted the jungle.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. You could just delete a jungle?
Apparently.
That's pretty sweet.
He had access to the mod tools.
That's pretty I mean,
sick. They kind of equate it to that. There's some good reading out there. We should append it to the description on this game.
Yeah.
It's worth looking at. I think you guys would enjoy it.
One of the companies that I do want to talk about, and I mean, it's kind of hard to say that they're still AAA in the condition that they're in right now, but their games are, I would say, are AAA, and that would be Capcom.
Okay.
Capcom has a lot of AAA titles in, you know, Dead Rising, the Resident Evil series are still, you know, AAA titles. The problem is, I'll be honest, Resident Evil 5 was bad. Resident Evil 6 was worse.
Yeah. I did not. I played through Resident Evil 5. I enjoyed it, but they definitely went way over the line of survival horror straight into, well, we put action elements in Resident Evil 4. Like, there weren't tank controls.
Yeah.
So, therefore, people like this, and we should make it
an action game at this point.
Basically the stupidest thing ever.
I guess the ideal was to make Resident Evil more, like, appealing on a massive scale, because like the games were survival horror. They're difficult to play by nature, you know.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things for me though was the controversy that came around Resident Evil 5, just with the fact of, you know, think about this. You're in Africa, you know, The game was very let's be honest, the game was racist.
The game was literally the TNG racist episode equivalent of racism.
Pretty much.
No one knows what that means. I apologize.
Is it like Temple of Doom, like eating monkey brains?
Yes.
Racist?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
you have what? It's what? 2 white people going in the middle of Africa just shooting black people? That's what the game is. That's what you're getting in Resident Evil 5. How do you justify this and call this a game and go, "Oh, well, it's a zombie." No. I'm sorry.
Well, there were black zombies, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Where's zombies' rights?
Yeah, really.
You can't discriminate on zombies.
Look, if I get a common cold, am I no longer an American citizen? No. So why should a zombie infection be any different? Zombie rights, 2014.
But the thing that I feel like with Resident Evil 6 was Resident Evil 5 sort of had some sort of semblance of survival horror, not nearly what 4 or any of the predecessors had, but 6 it was gone. There was no semblance of survival horror whatsoever.
Was Chris Redfield one of the main characters in Resident Evil 6?
Yes.
His entire campaign was basically like a Call of Duty campaign, right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And on top of that, they made the characters like very anime-like, and it was just I did not get any enjoyment out of the game. I just didn't. Now they're talking about the remake.
Yeah, now they're gonna do
The
they're gonna
remake.
do they're gonna do a remake of the remake.
And they were basically what they came out with is they're very much focusing on what the people who are buying the games are saying, because they want to reboot the series again, and they want to see how people feel about it. So if the public goes back to saying, "Look, I want games like Resident Evil 1 through 4,"
Yeah.
or, a lot of people seem to say 4 was the best in the series.
It was a perfect mashup of more action-oriented elements and the old survival horror. I'd be very interested to see if the remake, if that sells well enough, will it drum up? Will it definitely change the opinion on what they should do with Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Because I would actually really I still remember playing Resident Evil 2 on my cousin's PlayStation, way back in the day.
I love that game.
Okay, the old ones are so good. I mean, you can argue what you want about how the gameplay's archaic or the tank controls aren't the best, but I think that's part of the charm of it.
Well, we've got survival horror games now that don't have archaic controls that still bring the same kind of fearful gameplay.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have games. If games like Daylight can exist, where the only thing you have in the game, you don't have any weapons, all you have is flares, glow sticks, and a cell phone, and they can instill so much horror in you because you feel defenseless. That's what makes a survival horror game so good, is the feeling of just there's nothing I can do. I'm essentially screwed.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that they need to get away from is obtuse gameplay that makes you feel vulnerable. Like the idea that the gameplay will be designed to be difficult, would be awkward to use or like that, and that's where the horror and the challenge comes from. They can make the actual gameplay good and still make it a scary game.
Yeah,
exactly.
I guess the best comparison I have, and it's a cross-genre comparison, but it's the way the Metal Gear Solid games have gone. Some would say the first 3 games have really obtuse controls, and they really do. It's a game that's it's designed to dissuade you from combat.
That's because you haven't remembered the basics of CQC, Pat.
That's true.
But yeah, you have to hold 6 buttons all together with your hands contorted in weird yoga positions to play with any real effectiveness in combat.
And if you accidentally apply one extra iota of pressure
on those face
slit
buttons,
the guy's neck instead of just choke holding him.
So you come to 4 and now on 5. Now that we've played the Phantom Pain that was it.
No,
right?
it was Ground Zeroes.
Ground Zeroes.
Phantom Pain's
all 12 minutes of Ground Zeroes. So you can see the combat is more effective.
$30 I've ever spent.
Should have gotten a red box, bro.
My God, It was good. It was extremely good.
Well, I paid like $2 to play this game.
Yeah, I paid $30.
So you're a chump, just like me.
I'm apparently a chump because I paid $30.
It's official. Frank's a chump.
For the record, I did not play Ground Zeroes, so I am.
But yeah, it's the combat is really effective. You can play that way, but it still requires you to do Metal Gear Solid style sneaking.
Yeah,
and it looks like that's kind of what the fifth game is going to be. It's going to be that with like an open world element.
Yeah,
it looks like.
The open world that Hideo Kojima is building up. He has confirmed that it's going to be absolutely massive. I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah,
so, it still keeps the flavor of the series, with the political sort of fascination going on. It keeps the stealth aspect. It feels like a cinematic experience, but they're bringing it into the next generation gameplay wise. And I think that Resident Evil can do that too. It doesn't need to be cryptic menus and possibly like using an item that you need later or else you can't win.
Yeah. Except for the keys, which somehow every character in Resident Evil realizes they don't need anymore after they've used it in one door.
The one thing I've always wondered about, and it's I haven't really wondered about it. One of the things I like is when it comes to the opposing side of the zombie genre games with Dead Rising. Dead Rising is just it's a visceral game. You go in, you kill zombies. That's all it's about. It's
like Saints Row compared to like Resident Evil or even other less like grim games.
Yeah. I mean, who really I can honestly say I've played all 3 of the Dead Rising games and never finished the storyline in any of them. I just run around mauling zombies until the 3 days or however long the period of time is. I just continue until it's over.
It's pure catharsis.
Yeah. I thought the story mode was neat in the first one. Like, you kind of got to screw up a few times, I guess, to really get the hang of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error involved. I will never, for the rest of my life, I will never forget the first encounter with the convicts in the Jeep in Dead Rising 1. That was basically the first major difficulty cliff to get over.
Yeah. Especially
because did they do it in not Resident Evil? Did they do it in Dead Rising 3? Did they use that really kind of obtuse, I want to say kind of Japanese style game design idea where every time you get say a fly lands on you, you immediately fall backwards and go into
Castlevania
a
syndrome
animation?
Yeah, it still does have a lot of things like that. Gameplay wise, they didn't really change much in terms of gameplay with Dead. I think they have Call of Duty syndrome. They go, people like this, we're just going to keep doing this. Yeah. This works. And Dead Rising, funny enough, is one of those games that I can go back to, and I think it's because of the time period between games. Whereas Call of Duty, it seems like one comes out every year.
It literally does.
And with Dead Rising, you've got 3 games, and it released in what, 06,
First one came
05?
out in 2006.
So you're talking about, almost 9 years, and you've got 3 games. So you're talking every 3 years a game comes out. I can work with that.
Yeah, I like that.
That doesn't make it lose its appeal when it's a every year thing.
Yeah, I think they've kept the core appeal of the Dead Rising games. If there's one series, I think they've managed pretty well. Capcom's done well with Dead Rising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, funny enough, speaking of Castlevania, you actually brought up a point that I wanted to talk about. They actually have, between Metal Gear Solid and now the new Lords of Shadow games for Castlevania, would you still consider Konami to be a AAA company, or would you say they've fallen out of the AAA world at this point?
I don't know.
That's a good question. It's a weird thing, and I know we got into it with the indie games discussion last week. It's where do you draw that line? Where's that distinction?
Yeah, it's tough to define, I think.
Yeah. I would still say
it's easy to say who's definitely AAA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the definite AAA ones.
I think Konami kind of rises above what we would generally call an indie developer, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why, the question came into mind of would we consider them to be a AAA? I personally consider them to be a AAA because the popularity of games like Lords of Shadow and Metal Gear Solid stand on their own. And you can see that by the sales numbers of any of these games. So I would say yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just their pedigree.
Yeah.
Their history and everything. I'd stand by that point.
Absolutely. But going into other, topics, not just AAA titles, but we can talk about the companies themselves.
Yeah.
And the games that they release, like Sony, Microsoft, what games they come out with, because I would assume that you would consider them to be AAA titles.
Yeah, absolutely. They're flagship titles for their respective consoles.
Right.
Yeah, because Gears of War was Microsoft and Epic Games, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a mixture between the two. That was a series that I really enjoyed up until the third one.
Yeah.
It ran
really
its course.
Did enjoy Gears of War, but yeah,
that's kind of a game that just ran its course.
Definitely.
That didn't have the staying power. Well, even like Halo still sells, but like I feel like that's kind of run its course a little bit. Like it was the game for Xbox at the time, and now it's just kind of like another title. Like they don't sell Xboxes on Halo as much anymore.
Yeah,
it's
Xboxes
more of a Call of Duty box
now.
Yeah.
Or Titanfall. Yeah. Well, Titanfall seems to take a little bit more out of Call of Duty's book than Halo.
Than Halo's book, yeah.
It's a mixture of a couple of things with Titanfall. Titanfall is a really fun game. I enjoy Titanfall thoroughly. Obviously, it's, again, one of those games that kind of runs its course after you play it for a certain amount of time. It's like, okay,
But that's fine. I like that we can do something and be done with it and have had the experience.
Yeah,
like,
and move forward.
That's the thing. Call of Duty, I feel like we're stuck in time. Like the game is gonna stay the same. Like people just want like.
Was there a movie where Kevin Spacey traveled through time?
Yes, it's called Call of Duty. There you go.
Oh my God, Call of Duty's Kevin Spacey is the first postmodern Call of Duty title.
Oh my God.
But the whole thing with Gears of War going into that series of games, and we can use the counterpoint of God of War, obviously for Sony. The thing that bothered me about it was the story was extremely engaging in the first two games, and then the third game it felt like, where is this going at this point?
Yeah.
I feel like it should have ended at 2.
Yeah.
But they felt like it had to be a trilogy. They had to get some whatever story was left there.
They probably had a third game on their contract.
Yeah, that's basically what it
they're
was.
They're just happy to be working.
Just happy to be working.
I mean,
I will happy
say,
to be working.
I loved the multiplayer, and obviously Ian can attest to this. We were the curb stomping emporium for quite some time.
We curb stomped so many dudes, and if we lost, we blamed it on lag.
We did.
Every single time.
The funny thing is, we would sit there, and there was this one guy that used to play, like he used to wait for us to get online, and he would play. And we were playing a multiplayer map, and we're setting up the game, and it was the 4-on-4, but there were only 6 people in, and we're like, all right, it'll be us 2 versus you 4. And the one guy in the game was like, shouldn't it be 3-on-3? And the guy that always played with us was like, no, it should be 2-on-4.
I think his exact words were, "You'll see."
Because we would honestly like fuck with people, because you had like the smoke grenades. We'd smack them with the smoke grenade so it would follow them, and we'd run away. We would like mess with them and not kill them, and just play games with them until we felt it was fitting to
just tag them with a smoke grenade and then roll away. I swear to God, we did it to this one guy like 5 times to the point where he quit. He just left. He couldn't deal with it anymore. There were so many situations with that game where we just pissed people off. I remember the one time, I can't remember the name of that map. It's the one where it traverses down. It's like a downhill grade, and you'll either be at the top or the bottom each round. Oh yeah, the old train yard or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. And at the
Wasn't
top,
that whole game train yards?
Pretty much.
Coal train.
But at the top of the map, they had a torque bow and a sniper rifle.
A twerk bow?
Torque bow.
This was pre-twerk.
Yeah, it was the pre-twerk.
Back in the days of Hannah Montana.
But me and Ian, we switched between. He took the sniper rifle. I took the torque bow. I don't even think they got a chance to even get to the middle of the map before we killed all 4 of them.
Yeah, they didn't touch us.
Okay. It was a funny experience.
It was beautiful. I was gonna say we need to stop. We need, as much as fun as this was.
Why? I like the gloat.
This guy's gonna listen someday.
Dungeon braggers.
But no, like the multiplayer kind of fell off in the second game, and as far as the third game, like I said, I just couldn't in any aspect. I couldn't really get into it.
I'm gonna be 100% brutally honest. I never even touched the third Gears of War game.
Yeah, I didn't touch that.
I was
I fall off on a lot of these series by the third entry.
Yeah,
I feel an unpopular opinion coming.
Well, now with God of War, all 3 games, I loved every single one in that title.
Yeah, I heard they were all good.
They were extremely, like, the story, and it was, let's be honest, the gameplay was fun, but it's not the greatest gameplay in the world,
right.
With all the, what are they, the action...
The quick time events.
Yeah, the quick time events. I'm not a huge fan of quick time events, especially...
Yeah.
You can use them sparingly, but, like, for example, the way Resident Evil 4 used quick time events, I like that. Yeah. That was a good way to use quick time events.
You know what, though? It doesn't... the game is fun, and, it's kind of a thing where, like, sometimes you want to watch, like, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and sometimes you want to watch Die Hard.
That's true.
You just want to have some fun.
Yep.
That's true. But the story was extremely, at least in my opinion, was extremely fun to watch pan out through that game.
Yeah.
Especially, obviously, spoilers are going to be here. I'm going right to the end of the game, the very end when you of the third one when you eventually kill Zeus. And you've already killed Gaia, and you get Pandora's box, and he opens it and he finds obviously hope inside. If you know anything about Greek mythology and whatnot. But the way the game ends with him, they show like him going off the bloody cliff, and basically he kills himself because he sees what he did to the world, and he feels damned now with everything that has transpired over the course of these 3 games. It was just it definitely fit with like the Greek tragedies, and I feel like they really did their research on Greek tragedies and wanted to put a game together that really fit that mold.
And it also it speaks to the idea that they had a story in mind that they were going to stretch over 3 games instead of simply just
having a 3-game contract and
exactly. Well, we have 2 games and the story's pretty much concluded, so now we'll do the third one. Or in Halo's case, we're going to end the second game on a complete and utter blue balls cliffhanger.
Yeah,
and then make the third game. I'm still angry about that.
Well, we haven't even talked about Halo really yet, so
let's save my anger about Halo 2's ending for the Microsoft's turn.
Well, we are at Microsoft's turn.
All right, well, it's Microsoft's turn then.
You want to give your beef about Halo 2's ending?
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is your platform, man.
Oh yeah, well,
give it to them.
we got an Xbox for Christmas that year, and me and my brother actually played through the entirety of the co-op campaigns, and we got to the end of 2, and it's like, Master Chief, what are you doing on that ship? And it's like, sir, finishing this fight. Fade to black.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, wait 3 years for the next Halo game.
It's like the Sopranos ending. End in the middle of a sentence, just show's over.
Yep.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I don't know. For me, that's kind of how the second Metal Gear Solid feels. Like they had a big conspiracy, and they just ended it with like they went and resolved it. And even with the 4th game, like I didn't really feel like they finished that storytelling.
Yeah,
I feel that way about Mass Effect 3.
Unpopular opinion has arrived.
Oh my god!
I never played Mass Effect 3.
I
had no desire to play it. Like, I really liked the Mass Effect series. I played the first one, and I was so pumped.
The mythology. It's another game where, as opposed to a more open world. I mean, there's open world elements to Mass Effect, obviously, but at the same time, I feel like it was much more focused, much more narrative driven. But to actually get like a hard sci-fi narrative.
Yeah.
And to have the universe that BioWare constructed for that game. It was absolutely phenomenal. Easily one of the best games that I've played in a long time. Like, I still look back fondly on Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I liked Mass Effect 2.
I enjoyed it. Everybody else liked it way more. And
what, Mass Effect 2?
Yeah. I remember when I started playing, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But by the end, I just liked it.
Yeah, I can understand.
Everybody feels like that's the best one, I think. And
the one thing that drove me...
didn't like it more than Mass Effect 1.
The one thing that drove me nuts with Mass Effect 2 is definitely the dumbing down of all of the RPG elements to make it easier. And on top of that, too, we were discussing this the other night. No spoilers, because it's just kind of a general thing. But there are loyalty missions that you do with different characters throughout the game. And when you get to the end of the game, characters can randomly die just because you didn't go do the side fetch quest.
Each character has a set of side quests. And to have everybody survive, you need to do their side quest, except like and it's just really bad concept of choice and consequence, I guess.
It's very, very, very poor game design.
Yeah.
Well,
it's basically just trying to build replayability into the game.
Another thing that really bothered me is a lot of the choices that you made as the games went on. A lot of the choices that you made really didn't have much consequence whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was basically the same outcome no matter what.
I think I don't know if it was the fans had way too big expectations in terms of like consequences from choices and like how far reaching that would go. I do feel like the developer fed the expectation that like the ending of the series was going to be like wildly varying with all the things you were doing.
Yeah.
But to have the ending that game did have was really insulting. Like, it literally had nothing to do with the rest of the story.
No.
Yeah.
It was just like everything was pretty predetermined in terms of the choices. You know, like if you didn't save the Arachnite Queen, it still was a problem. They just explain away the things that you introduced to the story, and then to end it all off, it's just like, well, here are the 3 outcomes of the game.
Pick one.
Yeah.
And they're all the same anyway, but you would think your choices would have determined the kind of outcome you got.
Yeah. Can I go on a slightly minor rant with Mass Effect 2?
Sure.
This is the one thing that drives me crazy about games now. I love choice and consequence, but there should be a little bit more nuance to it. I'm not enjoying the fact that developers tout choices as like a major aspect of the game design. First off, because they treat it like it's a replayability thing. Like, ooh, pick something different, you'll have a different outcome. But at the same time, too, black and white morality.
When it doesn't change like the general gist of the game that much, it doesn't really feel like you're making decisions in your gameplay experience. Like when you're seeing mostly the same scenes over and over, I think that's a really cheap way to introduce it to the game.
And when you know it's good and bad right off the bat, and when the game spells it out for you, it's basically like, should I help this old woman cross the street or should I punt a puppy?
Yeah.
Well, obviously you punt the puppy, but...
Yeah, but that's only if you want dark side points.
I want dark side points.
And then it plays that ominous...
You know what? I have to ask that question. When you first play a game of that nature, how do you play? Do you go good or do you go evil first run?
I haven't done it the same my entire life. Like before, I would first go all the way good, and then the second time I would go all the way evil. And there was a point where I realized that I couldn't play every game twice because, like, you know, we're not in high school anymore.
Yeah,
I have to go to work and I have to like buy groceries and do my laundry and pay my bills and all sorts of stuff. Like, you know, I got a busy day. So when I'm playing a game with choices, and I think this makes it more authentic, is I make decisions based on my character. Like, he's going to have a more nuanced personality than that.
Okay, so you role play a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to min-max on good and evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a goody two-shoes through and through when I play games.
I'm the exact opposite. I like going straight evil the whole time, run through. I love it that way.
But like even like generally like my commander Shepard was a good guy, but I would always punch out the news reporter.
You
screw that guy.
Have to punch the news reporter, just like you always kill the manager.
Well,
oh yeah.
A good example, another BioWare game with Dragon Age. The first time I did it, the first time I played the game, and spoiler alert, at the end of the game when you're trying to, you know, I can't remember the name of the thing that you kill at the end of the game that you need to kill. It's the Reckoning or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's Morrigan, and she tells you, you know, you can have a child and sacrifice the child, which is like, that's horrible, but I'm like, let's do this shit. I don't feel like dying because I'm going to die, obviously. That's where this game's taking me. I'm supposed to die at the end of this game. No, fuck that. Let's have this kid and just eat the baby. It's cool. I'm cool with that. Does it make me a bad person? Maybe. But it had to happen.
No, it's only digital people.
Self-preservation in video games. But
didn't Mass Effect 3 shoehorn you into choosing to sacrifice yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if you picked the wrong thing, you actually got, like, sort of an ending, but more of a game over. And, like, you actually had to, like, be the one to go in the tank and, like, beat the game.
The endings were bad.
So
all
it's
the
like,
endings were bad.
Once again, a game that's totally determined on, like, your impact on the world, you got shoehorned into an ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Fallout 3 ending.
Yeah.
It's the Fallout 3 ending all over again.
That's what, did I say something else? I was talking about Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you said the end of the tank bit, and that immediately reminded me of that. Yeah. I still love the fact that you have with you a super mutant who's completely immune to radiation, and they're like, no, man, you got to do this. It's your destiny.
It's your destiny.
What the hell?
Die, you stupid son of a bitch.
It really bothers me in a game that's based on like open world decision making.
Yeah, a game that I really enjoyed that had elements of, you know, decisions, and it was because of the way they described the game to you as to how to play it. I don't know if either of you have ever played a game called Catherine. It came out for the PlayStation and Xbox.
I was really surprised by Catherine. I thought this game looked like the dumbest thing in the world.
It's amazing.
And, you know, like, it's not a perfect game, but I think that it is a really creative game.
The thing that I love about it is it's all about moral choices. That's what this whole game is about, is making moral, immoral choices. But
it has really, like, involved difficult gameplay, though.
Yeah,
so
the puzzles are extremely difficult, and they're fun to play as well as an added element to the game.
I refuse to believe that I was wrong about this game too. Like my roommate rented it, or she worked at GameStop, so she, like, you know, bought it and then she sold it back later. But we played this game, and I'm playing it, and, like, the whole time I thought, like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This is terrible, and, like, a lot of it really is campy. It's very genre in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
But the way it tells its story, the way it presents it, is really immersive.
Absolutely. And one of the things I like is they tell you when you play the game, when you do your first playthrough. Obviously, I think there's like 12 different endings to the game, but the thing about it is we've got about they tell you make your decisions based on your own personal feelings. Don't try to play within the character. Play it as yourself. Whatever decisions you need to make as yourself, and you'll get a better idea of who you are.
It is the kind of game you could play as a character,
quote unquote.
But, like, you want like decisions to be consistent with a person, like, making these choices.
Yes,
it's
it's
a neat game. It
was funny. That game came out, you know, right before. It actually came out right before I was engaged at the time, and it came out before I got married, and I'm playing this game, and that's basically what the whole game's about, is about a character trying, you know, deciding whether he wants to get married or not. Is that the kind of lifestyle he wants to live? And I'm playing this game, and I'm like, it's funny how this game is kind of going on the same part of life that I'm currently experiencing.
I think one of the neat, it is relationships and like your values being in one. I like how it thrusts you with one event your character does beforehand. Like, no matter what, your character cheats on his girlfriend, correct? So there's, like, an instant tension in the game, and you can kind of feel that out through the whole story.
Yeah.
Because, like, you may not play it as yourself. Like, obviously you're empathizing with the character, but, like, you're trying to, like, help him get out of the situation, or maybe not. Yeah. And you're feeling like, oh shit, I'm gonna get caught. Like, I can't believe I'm publicly endorsing Catherine.
When I played the game...
What the fuck is wrong with me?
At the end of the game, I got the bad ending. I wasn't supposed to get married. But in bad guy fashion, I got married anyway. Because that's how I roll. I actually got the good ending where, you know, he gets married to the girl that he was with from the start. Yeah. Which I wasn't really surprised. The one thing I will say about the game is some of the choices are very, once again, black and white.
Right.
Like,
but they don't necessarily have the effect you think they would have.
Exactly. That's the
So
one
it
part
does
that
give
makes
you
it
a
different.
gray area in there.
One of the ones that I found one question that I found interesting, and what's weird about the game is they show you the results of all the other people that voted on these things as well.
Okay.
And one of the questions was, what do you consider to be cheating more, an emotional tryst or a physical tryst? And it's like that question right there was one of the tough ones to answer, because it's like, if I were in this situation, what would I be angrier about?
Yeah.
What would I, or be more disappointed about? However you're gonna, handle it. Me, I'm gonna throw stuff around.
There were definitely questions that like there wasn't necessarily a correct answer, and the game like taunted you as it asked you these things, because like it goes like there's a number of characters that go missing, and there's like this nightmare world, and like before you start the puzzle aspect of the game, there's like a waiting room with church pews or something.
It's the church.
And you always answer a question, and none of the characters, like, these are the other people being abducted. You find out pretty quickly, I think. But you can't tell who they are because they all look like sheep.
Yes, everybody's sheep, and you're a sheep to them.
So you're learning about characters, and you don't even know who they are yet.
And that's another aspect of the game. What's really interesting about the game is you start to learn as you go through that these people that you're talking to that are the sheep, because the whole game is based inside of a bar. In one bar, that's the location of the entire game.
It's either the nightmare stuff,
the nightmare,
with the puzzles
or the bar.
and that, or the bar. There's
And
the day and the night, sort of. The awake and the dream world.
All of the characters that you meet that are the sheep are people in the bar. And there's things that you can do to save them. If you don't, they die. And that's the thing. In the dream world, if you don't get it solved, you die in real life, and that's
I don't think we should even say anything more about that. Like, I would really recommend people play this game.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm saying that. This has like weird, like almost hentai cover art, and it turns out like it's a really good.
It's a good game.
I can't believe this day has come.
It's a good game, and he can't deny it any longer.
No,
he doesn't want to.
My expectations were totally unwarranted.
I immediately, as I saw, like, I read the back, I saw the cover, and I'm like, I had that same instinctual feeling. I look at the cover, and I'm like, oh, come on.
This is one of those weird hentai things, quote unquote.
Well, I'm like, okay, pandering,
weird
whatever.
anime things.
And then I flip over the cover, and then I start reading what the game's about on the back, and I'm like, man, this actually sounds pretty interesting. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pick it up. What the hell? Why not? And I'm glad I did. I really am. It was really off track from AAA titles.
I was about to say, you do realize we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about an Atlas game, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you call Atlas close to AAA? Like, not in America.
I would say they're close to AAA. I mean, the Persona games are super popular.
Oh yeah, I didn't even. That's right. I didn't even.
They've got definitely a worldwide appeal.
Yeah, they definitely got a worldwide appeal. So I would say they're AAA. Maybe not in the U.S.
How dare you condemn us?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Minor league.
What's wrong with you?
Minor league ball ready to take this step up.
I don't know. He's been called up. He's gotten a taste.
Yeah,
he knows what's good.
So.
He's ready for the professional life.
So here's something that I was thinking about earlier, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show. But how long do you guys think that specifically? I relate this specifically to Call of Duty as kind of like a closing idea.
But these like mega franchises.
How long do you think that this business model is sustainable? Because the one thing actually that I remember reading when Black Ops 2 came out was they almost compared it to peak oil in terms of like sales of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Where they were basically already, before the NPD figures had come out, they were talking about the fact that Black Ops 2 didn't sell as well as Modern Warfare 3. Like, it's lagging behind, and it's not going to sell as many copies.
That's the thing is, I don't think it's going to dry up. I don't think it'll go away.
No.
It keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
Like one might not sell well. They might even have a couple in a row, but eventually people are going to buy back in en masse. Like, there's going to be a really popular one, and they're going to continue to do things like sell subscriptions to a specific game for online play.
Yeah.
And they're going to have freemium stuff. Like, the nickeling and diming isn't going to get smaller. It's going to get bigger, because there's this conception that video games aren't making as much as they need to. And it's easier to say, they need to not balloon the budget, the extra money they're spending doesn't justify, because they're not going to make that much more when they sell the games.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is big business.
Yeah.
They have to get these out on a schedule. They have to sell it to investors. There are very big interests here.
It's very boardroom driven.
And these freemium and subscription based games sell very well, like the ones that do sell, and they're going to keep doing that because that's where they're getting the money.
Exactly.
It's kind of an opposing factor to what we were talking about last week when we were talking about indie games, when we're talking about people taking computers home and making games, and you pin them to like a cork board, so that people can check out your games. It was done basically for the love of gaming, where I'm not saying that the developers of these games don't love the games or the products that they're making.
I have every belief that they're committed to it.
At the same time, they're doing it because there's a suit behind them that says this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that's where it stands, and that's where the difference between, I believe, the indie and the AAA really comes in. Yeah. And, it's one of those things, it's pick your poison.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy more? I don't think games like Call of Duty are going anywhere, obviously, because of the mass appeal, and as we all know, the generation of gamers is getting larger and larger, and as the generation gets larger, what's the first thing that they're really going to see? They're going to see the stuff that's being promoted on TV, which is your Call of Duties and your Titanfall. These are the games that are being promoted to the mass public. So
they're trying to strike gold.
Exactly.
Like, that's a big jackpot on the market. I don't think it's going away, but I really don't care.
Yeah, I have no problem with the AAA titles.
No,
if they're
some
there,
of them are good.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're there, they're there. And for the people that are like, well, the AAA titles need to go, all you have to do is ignore it. You don't have to.
Yeah,
you're not forced to buy the game.
That's the thing too. Is that
do I agree with some of the practices?
Things.
Absolutely not. But it's not something that you have to. I don't know.
People feel like there's like a social war going on, like a class war here between like big gaming and little, and it's not like that.
No.
They're just products.
They can coexist.
And that's the thing is, I feel like to a degree you can blame the subscription basis and the continual revenue stream they need from games rather than one price point is because of piracy. Like, they're losing sales, so they need to recover the money. And how do they do that? By making the gamers pay for it over time. And, I do think the piracy is wrong. Like, people who say that it's not stealing, like, I guess not, but you're really just trying to justify getting free shit. At the same time, I don't think that...
It's just ones, ones and zeros, man. You wouldn't copy a car.
Like, there's a nuanced conversation.
Don't copy that floppy.
Don't copy that floppy, dog. But at the same time, I look at it and I think, like, they see that it's a very popular revenue stream. I don't think you can point to piracy and say, like, that caused it. I think it would have happened anyway.
Yeah. So
I'm going to hop off my soapbox here. Piracy is wrong, but I'm going to stop yelling at you about it.
Yep.
Piracy is wrong. Don't copy that floppy. That's what Patrick has to contribute.
We need to link that too now.
We will. We will link Don't Copy That Floppy so you can check that out. But that brings us to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And next week, we're going in a little bit of a different direction. We're going a little bit smaller this time around. We're going into handheld gaming. And also mobile gaming, because mobile gaming is definitely becoming a pretty big thing at this point. And
it's just as much a part of the video game picture as anything.
Yep. So if, you're interested in handheld games, you should check it out. If you're not, you should still check it out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to check it out.
I don't know why you're listening now. I mean, like, what the fuck?
What are you doing?
Why are you leading us on?
Ian, would you do the honors?
Next week's Dungeon Brawlers podcast is handheld gaming. Doo-doo.